Have you ever seen one person do something, like stack a box incorrectly or put something in the wrong place, and then seen how everyone else follows suit, even if they should know the proper way of doing something? Humans like to imitate one another. In fact, copying others is one way that people deal with stress. However, this confidence that comes from imitating others can also have detrimental effects. For example, if one person throws litter on the ground, it is more likely that other people will feel comfortable littering in the same area. After all, if one person did it, it can't hurt for one more person to do it, right? In this way, a person's environment will impact their behavior. The broken windows theory, a theory of crime developed by James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelling and published in 1982, is based on the idea that a person's environment will directly affect how they choose to behave. The name, broken windows, is a metaphor for any type of disorder, whether that be smashed glass, graffiti, litter, public drinking, overgrown sidewalks, or abandoned buildings. The premise of the theory is that disorder in a community causes individuals to misbehave, leading to serious crime. The broken windows theory was first published in The Atlantic, and this paragraph from the article appropriately describes the theory. Social psychologists and police officers tend to agree that if a window in a building is broken and left unrepaired, all the rest of the windows will soon be broken. This is as true in nice neighborhoods as in run-down ones. Window breaking does not necessarily occur on a large scale because some areas are inhabited by determined window breakers, whereas others are populated by window lovers. Rather, one unrepaired broken window is a signal that no one cares, and so breaking more windows costs nothing. It has always been fun. A damaged building or an uncared for area is a sign that screams, "No one cares about this space. Do whatever you want." This makes people feel comfortable committing crime in an area, which can lead to more serious crime because the chances of being caught and punished appear to be lesser than those in a well cared for and well monitored area. While the hypothesis that small crimes normalize more serious crimes has not always proven accurate, signs of vandalism do cause a community to be more uncomfortable and fearful. Kelling and Wilson were inspired by a study conducted by Philip Zimbardo in 1969, in which Zimbardo placed a car without license plates in a crime-ridden area, and another car in a more affluent neighborhood. The car in the crime-ridden area was quickly damaged, while the other remained untouched. However, when Zimbardo damaged the car in the affluent neighborhood, the car was quickly vandalized by the residents of the neighborhood. Although a quite simplistic study, Zimbardo demonstrated how signs of abandonment encourage people to further damage something. So, how would the broken windows theory be implemented in a city? Kelling and Wilson suggest that police are put in areas that are more likely to become crime-ridden in order to prevent the further deterioration of the neighborhood, to train police in the management of street life, to arrest people for small crimes, and to literally fix broken windows. However, the latter is not necessarily what most of the article focuses on. Rather, Kelling and Wilson overall suggest heavier policing and police training that enables police to foot patrol communities and interact with the people who live there. Overall, they recommend more community-oriented rather than individual-oriented policing, fostering trust and good relations among police officers and the communities they work in. In cities that have applied the broken windows theory, there is a greater police presence, leading to zero-tolerance policing. Zero-tolerance policing has various definitions, but generally refers to the act of stopping people on the street, asking questions and frisking them, and then, if they have committed a crime, even if it is a small one, arresting them. Now, does the broken windows theory, when applied as Kelling and Wilson suggested, actually work? New York City is famous for its implementation of the broken window theory during the 1990s. Crime rates did decrease in New York City. However, experts have widely varying opinions about why this is. Some state that the crime rate was already decreasing, and since crime fell throughout the United States, it may appear the broken windows theory did not play a role. Stephen D. Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner argue that the drop in crime in the entire United States is due to the legalization of abortions on January 22, 1973. In the first year of legal abortion alone, over 750,000 women had abortions, which means that there were 750,000 fewer unwanted young people 20 years later. Contrarily, others will argue that it was largely due to the broken windows theory that the crime rate dropped. Crime is a complicated psychological issue, impacted by a variety of factors, so it is difficult to determine how effective different crime-stopping strategies are. It is most likely that the broken windows theory did play a role, but not as great as people originally thought, and its impact was likely quite minimal. One of the most common arguments against the broken windows theory is how minority groups are disproportionately impacted. Allowing police to arrest individuals for petty crimes has led to discrimination and classism, which has often harmed minority communities and increased tensions between police and the community they were meant to serve. This issue was even mentioned in the original article about broken windows theory. The article states, "How do we ensure, in short, that the police do not become the agents of neighborhood bigotry? We can offer no wholly satisfactory answer to this important question. We are not confident that there is a satisfactory answer, except to hope that by their selection, training, and supervision, the police will be inculcated with a clear sense of the outer limit of their discretionary authority." In this way, discrimination was a foreseeable issue that cities which implemented the broken windows theory were unable to prevent. One of the reasons Kelling and Wilson had suggested heavier policing was because they found residents thought that police didn't really do anything when they were asked for help. For example, if police are called to a scene due to rowdy people disturbing the peace, and tell residents that they, as police officers, cannot do anything besides try to talk to the disruptive individuals, the residents will start to lose confidence in the police, since it seems they cannot do anything about the community's small problems. Therefore, the residents may choose not to call the police next time they have an issue. The reasoning was that foot patrol officers would make a community more confident in the police service, thereby feeling safer in their homes and on the street. Another argument against the theory is how in cities where the broken windows theory was implemented, there are more complaints about police officers. The stop and frisk movement grew out of this theory, which, while popular for a time, is now considered unconstitutional. Even Kelling stated, "When, during the 1990s, I would occasionally read in a newspaper something like a new chief comes in and says, 'I'm going to implement broken windows tomorrow,' I would listen to that with dismay because it's a highly discretionary activity by police that needs extensive training, formal guidelines, constant monitoring, and oversight. So do I worry about the implementation about broken windows? A whole lot, because it can be done very badly." The fact that even the individual who first suggested the theory is concerned about it demonstrates that the broken windows theory may not be as great as it was once thought to be. People do not like to live in over-policed communities, but some police presence is good. According to a 2019 article from Statistics Canada by Dinah Ibrahim, 41% of Canadians living in the provinces said that they had a great deal of confidence in the police, while 49% said that they had some confidence. However, the same study also found that only 35% of designated visible minority Canadians living in the provinces reported having a great deal of confidence in the police, in contrast to 44% of non-visible minorities. While the broken windows theory was popular, laws were implemented in Canada that followed the suggestions of the theory. In 1999, the Ontario government passed the Safe Streets Act, which was made to prevent forms of panhandling, such as washing car windows for money when the cars were stopped at red lights. Despite arguments that the act limited people's freedom of expression and should not be made by a provincial government, the act was determined to be constitutional during a trial in 2002. Similar laws have been passed in other provinces or cities. For example, in Winnipeg, there's a bylaw outlining all the places that an individual is not allowed to panhandle. This bylaw was passed in 1995, around the time when broken windows theory was being introduced in New York. While the original broken windows theory is no longer as popular as it once was, a National Academies panel has termed a new theory Broken Windows Policing Part 2, which takes the metaphor literally and focuses on improving the physical appearance of areas. Some studies have shown that a more physically appealing neighborhood does reduce crime, while other studies have been inconclusive. So when thinking about the broken windows theory, consider which theory is actually being discussed. Originally, the broken window was mostly a metaphor, but maybe this is a metaphor that should be taken literally. Whether or not cleaning up neighborhoods reduces crime, it does make people feel happier, more confident, and like they live in a world of people who care about their environment. In conclusion, the broken windows theory is simplistic on the surface, like crime, but both are far more complicated deep down. Policing systems have evolved from the time when Kelling and Wilson first published their article, and society's perspective on the police have also changed. It is difficult to determine the effectiveness of the broken windows theory, but it is clear that having good order in a community by literally fixing broken windows, cleaning up litter, and painting over graffiti does make people feel more comfortable living in their community, creating a higher quality of life.